then that Rianne is unable to attend today. She's unwell. And we just got a note through from Paul Ross a little while ago saying that he's had some issues with his flights and won't be able to chair either. So lo and behold, you're stuck with me chairing this meeting today. And as you notice, there's probably a few less people than we normally have. But look, we'll get stuck in, and I'll switch over to the next slide. And we'll do our acknowledgement to country. Powering Skills organisation acknowledges the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. And we pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. And welcome. As I mentioned, look, we are down a few people today. Lots of competing activities on. Everyone is busy. Look, I'll just put a reach out before we do start, and I'll probably say it again throughout the meeting, but if you do have other people that are interested in attending our gas technical advisory group meetings on a regular basis, please reach out. If you're not sure whether they are suitable for the meeting, reach out to me and I can reach out to them and have that conversation. And thank you for those people that have been going out and talking to colleagues and whatever to try and encourage them come along. These meetings are important. It is about the gas training package and where the gas training package will be going. And as you'll see when we get further down the track, about, we'll have a bit of a conversation about, when and if and what the review of the UEG training package might look like. So yeah, welcome and to everybody. Look, if you would just like to stick your name and organisation into the chat as a way of a bit of an introduction. Obviously, we'll be recording the tag, and that'll be available after the meeting. And also, as we get through, we'll be looking at the request for advice, which will also be available at the end. I'll be doing a little bit of update on some of the projects, the PSO projects that are underway at the moment. Generally, it's just the ones that are relevant to this tag group, but we'll go on a little bit further with that. We'll have a look at our requests for advice and some of the feedback that we got back from last time. Some matters of discussion that we were going to have, then opening up to the floor, and then, of course, closing off with our meeting. So some of the things that have been happening in the background, the UET refresher units, it's got the RA51, but the refresher units is the UET one. It includes that rescue from live panel. We bring that one up here because a lot of the people within this space undertake that unit of competency as well. That is with our skills ministers at the moment looking for approval. The RA51 has gone through the process of approval and is up and going. The creating an energy sector pathway is around the UEG Cert 2 units of competency, the career start in particular, and a new gateway project that is being brought together at the moment. If anyone is interested in that UEE Cert 2 that's around at the moment, there is some consultation out there for the existing units. It's a little bit of an update of the existing Cert 2 career start before we go into the full review of the UEE. Consolidation of the competency development units, again, probably not a lot of interest within this group, but that is with skills ministers at the moment. And I must say, updates to all these are on our website as well if you want any further information. ERAC, Essential Performance Capabilities Project, is now being closed out. and all those recommendations about what is required from ERAC to go into the electrician qualification is being taken under consideration as we move into that full UEE review. The minor changes to various training packages, we'll have a look, chat about some of the minor changes to the UEG training package, but the minor changes to other training packages, especially the UEE, will be rolled into that full review. Our vet workforce blueprint is continuing on. I think most people would know about that. And obviously all of our other projects, I won't go through them now, but they are live on our website. So you can jump on and have a good look at those if you feel the need. So for those that, so sorry, this is just a little bit of information about our last TAG group that we had, the last meeting. We had 9 registered attendees, not including the great PSO crew that usually join us. We had 8 that attended, and we only had 1 person that completed our advice or our survey that goes out at the end of the TAG meetings. As I mentioned before, these are usually questions around training packages or things that have been brought up during the TAG meeting itself. And it's where we gather the information to take those things a little bit further along. For instance, last time we had 3 questions, and we'll start off with the questions if we move into the next slide. So it was about streamlining the UEG training package. There are multiple units within the qualification, the superseded was deleted. So we were trying to find out from the people that deliver these units of competency, is there an urgent need to fix these superseded units? As we talk about in a lot of our development, we don't want to do a change just for the sake of doing a change. Unfortunately, the way that the training package organising framework is put together, it often means that things become a major change, which means we've got to get technical groups together, and we just can't swap out an old unit for a new unit. However, if it's causing problems to our people who deliver it, to our industry, we really want to get on top of that and have a look at it there. So the more people that respond to our information and these surveys that go out, the better we are able to respond to that. So we only had 1 person respond, so it gets very hard to get that quorum to move on and make those changes. If we look at the next question, this was about biofuels, and we can have these conversations later now, or if anyone wants to jump in and stop me as I'm going along. But last time we talked a little bit about biofuels and which training package should they be incorporated into. Is it something that fits in with that UEG training package? Generally, when we talk about the UEG, we're talking about upstream of the meter. We're not potentially talking about the plumbers and gas fitters themselves that are working in those domestic and commercial type situations. It's usually upstream of the meter. One responder did indicate that we should be looking at potentially skill sets around those biofuels. And as I said, we can have a little bit of chat when we open up the floor moving forward. And the third question in this one was, do you support a Cert 2 in utilities being developed? Yeah, this was, we did have a little bit of a chat about this as well last time, and I'm happy to have that conversation again. But as we go on and develop a Cert 2 career start, if you like, and we're looking at, or we are in the process of developing what we're calling a Cert 2 Gateways project, Cert 2 qualification potentially in that, well, it is in that school space, employment area, where we will touch on gas, that's for sure, and the associated gases and technology within that area, like hydrogen and potentially biofuels. Should there be something further in that Cert 2 in utilities, like potentially in that Cert 2 career start in the electrotechnology space? Is there something in that utility space that might entice more people into the area? Yeah, so will be happening, that will, at the end of this round of TAG meetings, we'll be putting out the request for advice. So if there's any questions or anything that you would like us to put out to the wider public, we can go about doing that. Jakes.
Phil, just going back to question number 1.
Yeah.
Can we get a list of those units that are superseded or deleted? Or,
yeah, we can put that information
so
out
I can
there
do
as
it
well.
more targeted feedback from our OG, for instance.
Yeah, we can put that down as an action to bring back to the group or to send out differently. We might be able to include it into the request for advice somehow, but yeah, I'll look into that for sure.
Thanks.
For sure. Okay, so this was where we generally open up to the floor, and our chairs, Rianne and Paul, we're going to lead this one today. But look, is there anything from your different jurisdictions that PSO might not know about, need to know about? Is there some, I'm not sure, regulation, training? Should there be some training taking place? Is there any non-accredited training that's happening in the background? I'll leave that with you. I don't see anyone with their hands jumping up immediately. So we'll move on to the next one. But when we go back to opening up the floor, I've got a couple of slides that that might hopefully entice a bit of conversation. But one of the projects that PSO is undertaking is looking at low and no enrolments, and I had a bit of a look at the enrolments in the UEG space, which was quite interesting. When I looked at the active data, which sort of shows enrolments or people who are actively involved in the qualifications, and particularly the Cert 3 qualifications, whether it was the superseded older qualifications like the 18, the 20, 21, we're up around the 600 people that are still in these qualifications, and obviously apprentices would account for a lot of those enrolments, because I don't believe you can still enroll into a 2021 qualification. But when I looked at what's happening in 2023, we had 25 enrolments into the latest gas package, which as an industry, we're really trying to find out, are people still going into this industry or not? Is there, some data that's lagging behind? Is there non-accredited training that is taking place that we're not seeing within that data, I suppose? I did put the Cert 2 up there as well. 15 enrolments within the Cert 2 over 2023. There is probably still, I think, another 30 when I looked at the enrolments in the Cert 2 sitting in the background as there. So there's about, 45 40 people sitting in that Cert 2. But if I was just to look at that enrolment data, yeah, not a lot of activity. If I moved on to the Cert 4, no enrolments through 2023 into the Cert 4. And if I go further and look at the diploma of gas, we don't even have an RTO that has it on scope. So it will be a discussion when we do come around to putting in our reports on those low enrolments. We've got a workforce plan that's coming out. So our researchers have been working in the background on, not just on enrolments, but where the industry itself is going. But yeah, looking at the skill sets, there's about 4 or 5 skill sets in the UEG space. The only one that had any enrolments was the basic hydrogen skill set. And there was 80 enrolments in that skill set, which is probably, looking at some of the other qualifications there, is probably not too bad. With WA, when we drilled down in a state-by-state basis, that nearly all of those enrolments were from WA, which was interesting as well. So we weren't able to quite find out who was undertaking that. Probably one of the reasons we put this, we have these meetings is to try and get that information from our partners and our stakeholders out there. Who's undertaking? Do we need to look at these skill sets? In our conversations through the UEE, and we're just starting to, we've been out some broad consultation in our UEE full training package review, and we've had a lot of talk around skill sets and potentially that skill sets are becoming a little bit more, not more important is probably the wrong word, but a little bit more focus on skill sets now. So yeah. Jakes?
But I don't think that the issue is with the training package itself. I mean, we did a full review of those 5 quals, and I think 69 units of competence not that long ago with the gas IRC, I think 2022.
Yeah.
So it was then decided or signed off as suitable for industry. So I think there might be other factors like trainers and training organizations and the increased uptake of micro-credentials, those sorts of things. The hydrogen safety skill set, we just put that on our funding list here in Queensland, I think last year.
Excellent.
So hopefully that will see more enrolments in Queensland.
Yeah.
Was
it just that one skill set, that basic hydrogen one? Yeah. And look, some of them are new, and you're right. They are 2022 packages, and some of the word and some feedback from our other tag groups is yes, that they are reasonably happy with the training packages. And I think I didn't really monitor the chat, but I think Melissa put in there that the industry does seem to do a lot of non-accredited training. I think that has come up before, and Paul was gonna have a bit of a talk on that. But in the licensing space, and if we just probably slip over to the next slide, it sort of corresponds with this, that there's not really, while there's a lot of regulation around that upstream area, there's no real licensing component of that, as far as I'm aware. I don't know if anyone on the call can talk to the licensing components. We realise there's the downstream, that the gas fitters, the plumbers, and those sorts of things. We also realised that I think it was Build Skills, because we do collaborate with the other jobs and skills councils, that Build Skills is working on some units of competency for those plumbers, gas fitters that are working downstream in that area, as they do need to be licensed in that area. So, yeah, I don't know if anyone's got any thoughts on the licensing side of things. Everyone's making me do all the talking. God, I don't know. No, that's fine. Perhaps we'll just slip back to that slide. Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, I just point out there that PSO are doing a licensing and mapping. We do have a project looking at mapping the different licensing and regulation throughout Australia. Again, there's generally in the UEE space, looking at the electricals, the restricted licenses, but also flowing on a little bit into that plumbing space, gas fitting space, because they might have a restricted type license there, and also, you know, air conditioning, refrigeration, and some of those other things. But yeah, that's probably for information. But yeah.
Well, I think you need to consult with Standards Australia, because they are adopting and generating new standards on hydrogen systems.
Mm-hmm.
And those do tend to be the precursor for licensings as well. So
yeah, that was I can't remember the group, but yes, it was a little while back. They were looking at the different standards that were coming across, for sure. All right, I think sort of Jake's covered this one, and I mentioned that PSO will be looking at new activity submissions towards the end of this year. And it sort of feeds back into those the request for advice that we put out, and it will probably be a question in the request for advice. I think we'll put that out as a bit of an action. That is there anything there from our stakeholders? What do we want in the gas space? And Jake's mentioned that yes, the package had a really good review in the last transition, and I think that most of the industry were really happy with it. I think it might be the only package within PSO's remit that the industry and the RTOs were actually pretty happy with. But look, if there's something that, you know, your stakeholders are telling you, whether that's in an RTO space or an industry space, something you're hearing in the background, we will be looking at activity submissions, and even if it's not distinctly related to UEG, but maybe there's a gap in the training somewhere. Maybe it is something about the Cert 2 in utilities. Maybe it's something about implementation, promotion, monitoring. The JSCs have a lot more remit in this space now. Previously, we have talked about, you know, is there some promotion PSO could do of bringing people more into the gas space. I had a conversation with Enzo from Victoria, one of the regulators down there, and we were talking about, you know, that gas, you know, takes on sometimes it gets that a dirty trade tag sometimes, and, you know, in Victoria there's a lot of talk about taking gas out of the domestic supply and into new houses, and also talk about moving into restaurants and businesses and that sort of thing. But I think anyone who is on this call and a lot of the other stakeholders realise that gas is going to be around for a long time to come yet, and we need workers in this space moving forward. So yeah, as we move forward, anything in this space that you think PSO can look at and help out, we have some scope in our activity submissions that are coming up towards the end of the year. So please let us know, and we'll ask those questions in our request for advice. All right, opening up to the floor. Up to you guys again. I haven't been monitoring the chat. Have we got anyone? I'm just going to have a quick read of that. Take my breath for a second. Melissa's put a few things in there about renewable alternatives, bio, green hydrogen. Yep, training the workforce, new technologies. Is that something you want to? Can you speak up at the moment, Melissa? Is there something?
Yeah, sure.
Just expand on that for us. That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Phil, I'm flat chat and flat out like a lizard drinking at the moment, organising this conference, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So as I said, there's a lot of non-accredited training that is happening, and like Zimfra, Gemini. Some people know it as Gemini, but Zimfra is the overall company.
Yep.
Is doing a lot of cutting edge technology in the biofuels, green hydrogen space, but they are not using the training package. They're using the training package for their everyday technicians, but in this, cutting edge biofuels, green hydrogen space, they're using non-accredited training, basically, because there's nothing already that exists, right? So
yeah.
And they've got a lot of projects in Western Sydney about renewing, they're using biofuels as an energy source for particular projects and so on. So yeah, they're talking about those projects, but also about how they've had to come up with innovative, cutting edge, unaccredited training in order to train people up in this new area, in new technology.
Yeah. And we do get a little bit of feedback. Training packages take a long time to develop and move ahead. And sometimes it is easier to bring those, and some people call them micro credentials or non-accredited training, on board. And sometimes it's specific to, that infrastructure they work on, and it doesn't relate to some of the other areas. But yeah, that's good to know. And look, if you are coming across those people, please encourage them to join. Or if if you're happy to send us a contact, we can always reach out to those people to get
and
them
I
to come
encourage
along.
you all to come to the conference to hear what they're saying, because that's where they'll be speaking, and the government officials will also be there listening to what they have to say to work out where they're going to spend their money.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. All right, look, I don't want to hold you all up. I know we did have a lot more time scheduled in for the meeting, but look, please don't be disenchanted, I should say, by the lack of conversation. We are doing our best to bring people along, and we really want to hear from our stakeholders in this space. So yeah, look, if you do know people who want to be involved, please bring them along. Please even flick through some points of discussion. It might be another question we put into our request for advice is, flick us through some agenda items. What do you want to discuss? you know, at these tag meetings. It'll save me talking for an hour or two as well. So you get away from hearing my voice. So yeah, look, our next meeting will be in the 23rd of October. So yeah, and watch your inbox for those requests for advice. And of course, if you want to reach out at any time, feel free to email me through any thoughts along the way. But I'll just reach out if there's anyone want to make any comment. Anyone want to jump in and say anything? Otherwise, we'll also thank you and close up there.
Thanks, Phil.
All right. Thank you, everyone.